You ever have one of those days where everything feels off, like the universe is testing you just to see how close it can push you to the edge? That was my Tuesday. Woke up late, again. No milk for my cereal, no clean socks, and the hot water in the shower lasted all of 2 minutes before choking out like a dying engine. I was already running behind for my shift at the auto shop, and my boss had made it clear one more oversleep and I was out. And maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing. Truth is, I didn't have a plan. No long-term vision, no 5-year goals. Hell, I didn't even know what I was doing for dinner most nights. I lived in a shoebox apartment with peeling paint and a fridge that whined louder than my neighbor's drunk boyfriend. Most nights, I just stared at the ceiling fan and wondered if this was it. If this fixing busted transmissions for people who barely tipped was the big finale. I was on my way to work trying to psych myself into giving a damn when I saw him. Guy was hunched over a shopping cart near the gas station on 5th. Worn down boots. Dirty flannel. Gray beard like he hadn't shaved since the Bush administration. His cart was full of junk, some plastic bottles, a radio with no antenna, and what looked like a broken hairdryer. He was digging through the trash bin beside the station like he lost something important in there. Now, normally I just keep my head down. Everyone does, right? It's easier that way. You tell yourself they'll be fine or someone else will help and you keep walking because it's cold and you're late. But not that morning. I pulled into the station, left my engine running, and walked over. "You good, man?" I asked. He looked up startled. Eyes cloudy but alert. "Dropped $1, he said. Thought I saw it fall in." $1. He nodded, kept digging. I didn't know what possessed me, maybe it was guilt, maybe just one of those cosmic nudges, but I reached into my wallet and handed him a crisp $1 bill. "Here," I said. "On the house." He stared at it like I'd just given him the keys to the city. His hand trembled a little as he took it. "You didn't have to do that," he muttered. "I know." I turned to leave. "Don't think twice about it." But as I walked back to my car, he called out. "Wait." I turned. "What's your name?" "Travis." He nodded like that meant something. "I'm Henry." "Nice to meet you, Henry." I drove off thinking that was it. Just one of those small, forgettable human moments. Like when someone holds the door open or helps you pick up something you dropped. The kind that fades away before lunchtime. But it wasn't. 2 days later, Henry showed up at the auto shop. I was in the back changing brake pads when Kyle, the new kid at the desk, came rushing in. "Hey Trav, you got a visitor." "Old guy. Smells like a campfire." I wiped the grease off my hands and walked up front. Sure enough, there he was, Henry. Same coat, same cart, same sad eyes. Only this time he was holding a coffee and a brown envelope. "Can we talk?" he asked. I glanced at the clock. 10 minutes till my next appointment. "Sure." We sat on the curb behind the shop. He took a long sip of his coffee and looked at me like he was still deciding something. "You gave me $1, he said. "Yeah?" He smiled, faint but real. "You didn't have to. But you did. You saw me." "Okay," I chuckled awkwardly. "What's this about?" Henry reached into his coat and pulled out the envelope. "This," he said, handing it over, "is for you. Just don't open it here." I blinked. "What is it?" He stood up, grabbed his cart. "A chance. That's all I'll say." And just like that he rolled off, wheels rattling against the pavement, vanishing around the corner like a ghost. I held the envelope for a second, uncertain. It wasn't thick. Felt like a letter. Maybe a few sheets of paper. I should have tossed it. Should have laughed it off. But I didn't. I slipped it into my locker, my heart thudding harder than I wanted to admit. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment everything started to change. The rest of that day was a blur. Oil changes, tire rotations, Kyle messing up a customer invoice and trying to pin it on me. My hands were black with grease by closing time, but my head wasn't on the job, it was back in my locker, staring at that envelope like it might burn a hole through the metal. I waited until everyone left. Locked up. Killed the lights. Then I opened it. Inside was a letter typed, neat, formal. Not what I expected. And folded behind it? A check. Not a little bonus check either. I'm talking $5,000. Clean. Real. The letter read, "Travis, you showed compassion without judgment. You gave when you had little to give. This is not charity. It's a beginning. Come to 922 Holcomb Avenue at 9 a.m. Saturday. Alone. H." That's it. No explanations. No signature. Just H. I stared at the check for a long time like it might jump up and bite me. It looked legit. The kind of check you don't ignore. But something in my gut churned. Either this was a prank or I was about to be knee-deep in something I didn't understand. Saturday came too fast. I barely slept Friday night, flipping between curiosity and paranoia. Every worst-case scenario ran through my head: drug deal, cult, elaborate identity theft. But I showed up anyway. 922 Holcomb turned out to be a 3-story Victorian that looked like it had been plucked from another century and dropped into the middle of downtown. Ivy climbed the walls. Windows like eyes. The whole place had don't touch anything energy. I knocked. No answer. Just as I was about to knock again, the door creaked open. And there he was, Henry. Only not the version I remembered. No cart. No grime. He was clean-shaven, in a pressed gray suit and standing like he owned the world. My jaw dropped. You came, he said, smiling like it was the most natural thing in the world. What the hell is this? I asked. Come in, Travis. Let's talk. I followed him into the kind of foyer that smelled like old money and expensive leather. Walls lined with books. Fireplace already lit. This wasn't some squatter's flophouse, this was wealth. Real, old-school, generational wealth. I owe you an apology, Henry said as he poured tea into delicate china cups. I lied. No kidding. I had to see what kind of man you were. If you'd walk past me like everyone else. Or if you'd stop. I was still standing, arms crossed. And if I hadn't, then none of this would be happening. He sat and gestured for me to do the same. I didn't. Who are you? I asked, voice low. I'm Henry Lowell. Technically, the fourth. My family built half the banks in this county. But I walked away years ago. Money's easy. People? Not so much. He leaned back. I've been searching for someone. Not a suit, not a resume. Someone with guts. Integrity. Empathy. You gave me $1, Travis. Not because you had to, but because you wanted to help. That meant something. I didn't know what to say. My throat was dry. I'm not hiring you, he continued. I'm handing you a chance to run something real. I've been quietly funding a project, helping folks climb out of the holes life throws them into. Shelters, food banks, mentorship programs. And I need someone to manage the next phase. Someone who's lived it. Not some Ivy League charity case. I laughed once short, sharp. You want me to run your rich people savior complex? He grinned. No. I want you to be the antidote to it. Then he pulled out a folder. Inside are account details, contacts, startup capital. You'll have full control. Think of it as a trial run. If it works, we expand. If it fails? It fails, I finished. Exactly. I stared at him. Why me? You're real, he said simply. And I'm dying. That stopped me cold. He looked up, voice soft. Liver. 6 months, maybe. No kids. No heirs I trust. I want to leave this world knowing something I did mattered. But I can't do it alone. My head was spinning. This isn't a handout, he said. It's a gamble. On you. I didn't answer right away. I left with the folder in hand and 100 questions bouncing inside my skull. This wasn't what I expected when I handed a stranger a buck. And yet somehow it felt like the beginning of something bigger. Bigger than me. Bigger than both of us. And I had no idea just how deep this rabbit hole went. It's funny how fast your life can shift from barely getting by to managing a charity with 6-figure accounts and a dying millionaire as your boss. 1 minute you're patching exhaust pipes for $20 an hour, and the next, you're sitting across from a suit named Stuart explaining why your outreach center needs a second van. It didn't come easy. My first week on the job felt like trying to read a foreign language while blindfolded. There were meetings, reports, phone calls with names I couldn't pronounce. I wore borrowed clothes to meetings with people who smelled like eucalyptus and arrogance. They talked fast, nodded slow, and smiled like everything I said was a joke they were too polite to laugh at. But I kept going. Henry wasn't there much. His health was slipping, and I could see it in the way he moved, slower, deliberate, like his body was quietly folding in on itself. But his mind? Still sharp as glass. You doing okay? I asked him one afternoon as he sat hunched on a leather chair that looked older than me. I'm doing enough, he said. You're the one I'm worried about. Why? He grinned. Because you're starting to believe this might work. And belief, Travis, that's dangerous. At the time, I thought he was talking about false hope. Turns out he meant something else. Because right around week 3, things started to get strange. It started small. One of the staffers, a woman named Maya, told me a grant we applied for had already been submitted by someone else. Same pitch. Same numbers. Word for word. I brushed it off. Coincidence, maybe? Or someone lifting ideas off our website. Then came the bank issue. I logged into the foundation's account one morning and found a wire transfer I didn't recognize. $10,000. Gone. Labeled as a consulting fee to someone I'd never heard of. When I asked our financial liaison, he blinked twice and said it was authorized by you. I didn't authorize squat, I told him. He showed me the digital signature. My name. My login. My timestamp. My stomach dropped. That night, I went to Henry's place. Stormed in like a man with something to prove. He was sitting by the fire, sipping tea like nothing was wrong. Someone's screwing with us, I said. They're using my name. He looked at me real calm. I know. You? No. He nodded. I've had eyes on the account ever since we started. You think I'd hand over that kind of money without backup? I saw the transfer the minute it hit. I was waiting to see what you'd do. I took a step back, hands on my hips. So this was a test? No, he said. This was bait? He stood, slower than usual, and handed me a USB drive. Every account access. Every login. Every anomaly. It's all there. Who's behind it? I asked. That's what you're going to find out. I stayed up all night clicking through spreadsheets, timestamps, IP logs. I didn't know what half of it meant, but one thing stood out: the login that authorized the wire came from inside the building. Our building. Our system. Whoever it was, they weren't just skimming from us. They were close. Close enough to be dangerous. By morning, I'd circled 3 names. Staffers with admin-level access. One of them was Maya. The other 2 were people I barely knew: Jared from logistics and some temp named Allison who left a week before I started. Henry called me around noon. No hello, no small talk. Meet me at the warehouse, he said. The warehouse was where we stored supplies, boxes of blankets, canned goods, water filters, stuff we sent out to shelters. Quiet, mostly empty during the day. When I got there, Henry was waiting. But he wasn't alone. Maya was with him. Her arms were crossed. Her face looked like she'd been chewing glass all morning. Is this a setup? She snapped as I walked in. Henry didn't answer. Just nodded at me. I pulled out the printed bank log. You accessed the account 4 times last week. You didn't tell me. Her jaw clenched. Because I was checking on things, Travis. You're new. I didn't want to come off like I was babysitting you. Then why the ghost transfer? I asked. She blinked. What transfer? The 10 grand that left our account under my name. She went quiet. Her eyes moved between me and Henry. I didn't touch any money, she said, voice flat. You're on the list, I said. You're one of 3 people who could have done it. She stepped forward, angry now. And you think that means I did? You don't even know me. Henry cut in, calm and sharp. We don't know anyone, Maya. That's the problem. I saw the moment it hit her. She wasn't mad about being accused, she was mad someone else might be framing her. She looked me dead in the eye. If someone's making it look like you moved that money, what's to stop them from making me the fall guy next? Silence. The 3 of us stood there, the air thick with suspicion and something colder, fear. Because it wasn't just about the 10 grand anymore. Someone on the inside was playing a long game. And we were already too deep to walk away. The next few days were chaos. We started digging quietly. Me, Maya, and Henry. No big accusations. No confrontations. Just questions disguised as routine audits and internal reviews. I didn't know what I was doing half the time. I'm a guy who used to measure success by whether or not I had enough gas to make it to payday. Now I was playing detective with a dying millionaire and a pissed-off staffer who may or may not have been getting framed. But one thing became clear real fast: the leak wasn't just a glitch. It was intentional. Maya found it first, an IP trail that didn't match any of the devices inside our network. It was bouncing through a proxy, rerouting through different cities. But the origin? One of our old access terminals, one we thought had been deactivated. Allison's. The temp who left a week before I started. She wasn't just a temp, Maya said, pacing the small office we'd basically turned into a war room. She was planted. Knew exactly where to go, what to access. She never even blinked when I gave her access credentials. So what, she got in, left the door open, and someone's been using it since? I asked. Exactly. Henry, sitting in the corner with a blanket draped over his shoulders, coughed and muttered, someone smart. Patient. Someone who didn't just want to steal, they wanted to watch. The words gave me chills. Why watch? That night, I drove home with my eyes on every mirror. Paranoia was a dull buzz in the back of my skull now. It never shut off. I started locking my doors twice. Checking the windows before bed. I didn't tell anyone, no cops, no friends. I didn't have many to begin with. But I did start carrying a tire iron in the passenger seat. And then things escalated. I got to the office one morning and found a note on my desk. Typed. No envelope. No signature. You're not ready for what you've walked into. Turn back, Travis. While you still can. I read it twice. Then again. My hands went cold. Maya found me holding it, staring like it might start breathing. She snatched it from my hands and read it. Her face changed. Someone knows we're getting close. No, I said. Someone's scared. We were rattling the cage, and whatever was inside didn't like the light. Henry, on the other hand, was calm. Too calm. He held the note like it was a fortune cookie. They're tipping their hand, he said. That's good. That's good. I snapped. What if next time it's not a note? What if it's a fire? Or a bullet? He didn't flinch. If they wanted you gone, he said, you be gone. That's when I realized Henry knew more than he was saying. I confronted him that evening. Walked into his den, slammed the folder of printouts onto the coffee table. You're holding out on me. He looked up slow. Didn't deny it. There's a name, I said. The wire transfer. The fake consultant. I traced it through 3 shell accounts. And guess what name popped up in a corporate registry? He waited. Alastair Kane. Henry's eyes darkened. That name meant something. Talk, I said. He set his glass down. His hand trembled. Alastair Kane used to be my partner. Back when this was just an idea. A foundation built on real help, not photo ops. We built it together until I found out what he was doing. What was he doing? Padding expenses. Inflating costs. Taking kickbacks from every damn deal we made. I sat down, pulse rising. I cut him off, Henry said. Shut the whole operation down. Burned every bridge. But I never had proof. So he's back. Oh, he never left, Henry whispered. He just got smarter. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Kane. About this shadow player pulling strings from behind the curtain. If he'd planted Allison, he could have planted more. What if this went deeper than the foundation? What if it reached into the banks, the boardrooms, the politicians we shook hands with? And what scared me most was that Henry knew this the whole time. He brought me into a war I didn't even know I was fighting. And now I couldn't walk away. I stopped being afraid somewhere around Tuesday. Not because the danger faded, hell no. It was still there, thick in the air like gasoline waiting for a spark. But fear? Fear gets tired. Eventually, your body just runs out of room for it. That was the day Maya found the burner phone. It was in the break room, wedged behind the vending machine. Dusty, old model flip phone. No passcode, no contacts. Just one thread of outgoing texts, all to the same number. Coded messages, short and cold. He's asking questions. We'll move on Friday. Start the collapse. We stared at the phone like it was a loaded gun. Maya looked pale. This is real, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Someone inside is talking to Kane. The weight of it hit me like a good punch. We had a mole. And not a cautious one, a saboteur. Someone trying to take the whole thing down from the inside. I couldn't sit still. I needed to move. I needed something. So I paid a visit to the one guy who owed me a favor. Jermaine Lockbox Williams. Used to work security at a casino downtown until he borrowed a few grand off the top for a friend's cancer treatment and got caught on camera. Smart guy, dumb move. But I helped him when nobody else would, fix his car for free, gave him a ride when he had nothing. That kind of loyalty sticks. Still got access to backdoor bank records? I asked him. He gave me a look. That's a hell of a question for a guy who just walked in without a pizza. I handed him a USB and a 20. There's a name. Kane. I need to know where his money's going. And if it touches anything with our name on it. Lockbox leaned back, cracked his knuckles. You got it. But if anyone asks, you never saw me. An hour later, he called. You're not gonna like this. The screen on my phone lit up with a file list. Half a dozen companies, fake charities, shell organizations. And at the center of them? The Lowell Foundation. Henry's name. My name. Even Maya's signature cloned. On documents that showed donations, grants, even real estate purchases that never happened. They were using our names to launder their money. And the kicker? Some of those deals were recent. While I was busy trying to fix things, Kane was using my face like a mask. He wasn't just trying to sink us, he was trying to burn our credibility so we couldn't fight back. I printed everything and drove straight to Henry's house, heart pounding like a war drum. He was in the library, staring at an old photograph. You knew, I said. You knew he was still inside. He didn't look up. I had to be sure, he said quietly. If I told you too early, you'd run. You weren't ready. You're damn right I wasn't ready. I've got fake signatures, dummy corporations, wire transfers under my name, and a staff that doesn't even know they're standing in a minefield. I slammed the folder on the table. You used me. Finally, he looked at me. And his eyes, they weren't cold. They were tired. Cracked around the edges. No, he said. I chose you. There was silence. Heavy, bitter silence. He leaned forward. I'm dying, Travis. Fast. This foundation won't last 6 months after I'm gone if Kane takes it. Everything I've built, every dollar that could have changed someone's life, will vanish into yachts and penthouses and bribes. You should have told me. Would you have believed me? I didn't answer. Maya called right then. Her voice was shaky. You need to get back here. Now. I sped back to the office, tires screeching. The front windows had been smashed. The server room? Trashed. Hard drives gone. Paper files scattered across the floor like a hurricane tore through the place. Someone had broken in. And they weren't after money. They were after evidence. Maya met me at the back entrance, face pale, hands trembling. I think they're trying to wipe us out. Clean slate. Erase everything. She wasn't wrong. Whoever did this knew exactly where to hit us. They didn't just want to steal. They wanted silence. I looked at her. Then at the mess. No more hiding, I said. No more whispers. No more waiting. Maya raised an eyebrow. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time the world knew what the hell's going on. I always thought justice came with a badge or a gavel. Turns out sometimes it comes with a press pass and a thumb drive full of secrets. We went to the media. Not the flashy cable types with makeup and agendas. Local news. The kind that still cared about truth more than ratings. Maya had a cousin, Tasha, who ran a podcast that had blown up for exposing corruption in the school board last year. She was scrappy, smart, and had a voice that cut like a knife when she was pissed. This better not be a joke, she said, scrolling through the folder of files I gave her. Because I swear, if you're wasting my time. It's real, Maya said. It's all real? Money laundering. Identity theft. Wire fraud. They're using a nonprofit to clean dirty cash and hide dirty names. Tasha didn't blink. She just plugged in a mic and hit record. We told everything. From Henry's disguise on the street to the fake consultant, the burner phone, the break-in. We didn't hold back. Maya showed the records. I read the emails. We didn't name everyone, not yet, but we gave just enough for the world to smell blood. The episode dropped at midnight. By dawn, the fire was already spreading. Local news picked it up first. Then the blogs. Then a reporter from Channel 9 started asking questions at City Hall. Then the subpoenas started flying like confetti. By noon, #Lowell Files was trending. I'd never seen Henry so still. He sat in his chair watching the coverage with a look that was equal parts relief and dread. This is it, he said softly. There's no going back now. And he was right. That afternoon, a black SUV pulled up outside the foundation office. I was at the front desk when they came in, 2 men in suits, 1 woman. All sharp eyes and straight backs. FBI. They asked for our files. Our backups. Our statements. We gave them everything. Are we protected? I asked one agent, a guy named Monroe with a face like stone. We're building a case, he said. You just lit the match. Now we see how fast it burns. That night, I couldn't sleep. Again. I sat on the stoop outside the office with Maya, a beer in one hand, a tire iron by my side. Just in case. You think we're safe now, she asked. No, I said. I think we're visible. That's not the same. And sure enough, visibility has a price. The next morning, someone slashed the tires on my car. Maya's apartment got a brick through the window. Henry's house? Ransacked. Nothing stolen. Just wrecked. Like a message written in broken glass and overturned furniture. You're not done until they say you're done. But we didn't stop. We doubled down. Tasha dropped 2 more episodes. We went on record. On video. Henry even gave a statement from his hospital bed. He'd collapsed that morning and the doctors finally convinced him to stay. His voice on camera was shaky but sharp. This foundation was built on the idea that people matter more than money. If that costs me everything, so be it. That quote made headlines. Suddenly we weren't just a story, we were the story. And Kane? He snapped. One of his consultants went on TV, tried to paint the whole thing as a vendetta, said Henry was losing his mind, that I was a nobody grifter trying to hijack a legacy. But it didn't stick. People had heard too much. Seen too much. Truth had traction now. Still, Kane didn't go quiet. 3 days after the broadcast, Maya went missing. I called her 6 times. No answer. Went to her place. Door was locked. Lights off. But her cat? Still inside. And Maya never left him without food. I knew something was wrong. Then I got the text. No name. No sender. Just a photo. Maya. Blindfolded. Tied to a chair. And one line beneath it. You should have walked away. My knees buckled. For a second, the world tilted. I'd always thought of myself as ordinary. Some grease-stained background character in everyone else's story. But right then, something shifted. I stood up, pulled my jacket tight, and whispered to the wind. You picked the wrong nobody. They wanted fear. What they got was fury. I didn't call the cops. Not right away. Cops take time. Protocol. Paperwork. Maya didn't have time. And I couldn't trust the system Kane had his claws in. So I went to Henry. He was in the hospital. Pale and tired. For dripping, voice like gravel and regret. They took her, I said. His jaw tightened. Then you go get her back. You know where they are? He nodded weakly. Warehouse on Pier 6. I used to own it. Kane's been using it for years. Shell business. Quiet. I didn't wait. I grabbed the tire iron. The same one I kept in my passenger seat like an old friend. Drove like the devil was on my bumper. Heart thumping like a war drum. The docks were dead quiet when I got there. Gray sky. Empty water. That hollow silence that comes before something breaks. I parked 3 blocks away and went the rest on foot. Slow. Careful. The warehouse loomed at the edge of the pier like a sleeping monster. Windows boarded. Rust creeping down the sides like rot. But the side door, cracked open. They were sloppy. Or they didn't think I'd come. Inside, it smelled like mildew and metal. My footsteps echoed off the concrete floor. Somewhere deep in the shadows, I heard a voice. Low, threatening. Male. Tell me what he has, or I start cutting things. Then a whimper. Maya. My grip tightened on the tire iron. I moved faster. Followed the voice down a corridor lined with crates. There, far end of the room, two guys. One tall, one stocky. And between them, Maya, tied to a chair, lips split, one eye swollen shut. I didn't hesitate. I slammed the tire iron into the stocky one's knee. He screamed and dropped like a rock. The tall one spun around, pulling something from his jacket. Looked like a knife, but I didn't give him time to show it off. I drove my shoulder into his ribs and slammed him against the wall. Travis, Maya croaked. Hang on, I said, breath ragged. I cut her loose with the tall guy's own blade, half expecting another goon to jump out of the shadows. But no one came. They hadn't planned on resistance. They'd planned on silence. Can you walk? I asked. She nodded, wincing. We hobbled out together, Maya leaning on me, blood dripping from her temple. Outside, I called Monroe, the Fed with the jaw like a brick wall. This is Travis Ford. You want Kane? I've got 2 of his men tied up at Pier 6. One's crying. Bring a mop. 20 minutes later, the docks were swarming. Blue lights, gun holsters, radios crackling. They arrested the men. Raided the warehouse. Found more files, drives, ledgers, everything. It was over. Almost. I went back to the hospital that night. Henry was fading. You could see it in his skin, paper thin like the life was leaking out. I got her back, I said. He smiled, weak but proud. Kane? Not yet, but soon. Your story's out there now. They can't shut it down. He nodded. Good. That's good. I sat with him for an hour. Told him about Maya. About the raid. About the look on that guy's face when I cracked his knee like dry wood. He laughed once. Then coughed. Then closed his eyes and said, You did it. He died 3 days later. I didn't cry. Not at first. But when they handed me the keys to the foundation, and the sealed letter with my name on it, yeah, I cracked. The letter was short. Travis, the world doesn't need more polished leaders. It needs real ones. Flawed. Loud. Brave. You gave a stranger $1. And in doing so, you bought a future for me, for them, for you. Make it count. I did. We rebuilt. Brick by brick. Cleared the names of everyone Kane tried to frame. Reached deeper into the city. Helped more people than I ever thought possible. Maya stayed on as co-director, scarred but unshaken. And me? I still don't wear suits. Still drive my old beater. But I walk different now. People say I saved a dying man's dream. Truth is, he saved me first. All it took was $1. Funny, ain't it? How something that small can change everything.